guys, welcome to a new video for the channel. In this video I'm going to be talking a little bit about my computer that I bought back in 2017, and I'm also going to be talking about some mistakes I made and some recommendations if you want to build a PC in the future or something like that. I'm going to give you some advice so you do not make the same errors as I did. And I can also talk a little bit about the future of AMD GPUs and CPUs, as well as Nvdia. I guess I can talk about that a little bit as well. So I'm gonna first I'm gonna talk about my PC and the specs. So I bought this PC back in 2017. At the time, I was thinking about building my own PC, so gathering the components and building everything. I went to PC Diga's website, which is a retail store that sells a lot of computer gear and stuff. So I went there and saw some of their pre-built PCs to take some inspiration, I guess, to take some ideas and stuff. And I saw that they were selling one at 800 euros, which was the maximum at the time that I was willing to spend. And so I decided to pretty much gather those components and pretty much make my own PC. Now, the mistakes I made were pretty simple. Back at that time, I didn't know this that much. I saw some reviews, and unfortunately, most of the reviews were not really that clear back in the time. But now I have a proper ideology and idea of what I should have done. But now there's really no point in upgrading anymore, because I now also have a new laptop as well, so I don't really see a point. As long as the PC that I have right now does what I need, I'm not really gonna upgrade. I've said this many times now. I mostly want to upgrade. Well, I was thinking about upgrading this year in 2020, but now because of the pandemic, I might upgrade next year in 2021. I'm still waiting for DDR5 memory and stuff, so yeah. But like I was saying, I pretty much gathered all the components and made the PC up, and it cost me a little bit over 800 euros, almost 900 euros. Now, what was the mistake that I did? Back then I went with Intel, so I went with an Intel Core i5 CPU, which is the 4-core 4-thread CPU, so it's not really that fast, especially for a person like me who does a lot of editing and stuff. I should have went with AMD, and this is the advice I want to give you guys, because if you want to start building a PC or you intend to build a PC in the future, do not go with Intel, go with AMD. AMD is much better bang for the buck. Their CPUs are cheaper than Intel, and not only that, they're also faster for the multi-threaded stuff. So if you're a person like me who does a lot of editing, photo editing, video making, video editing, stuff like that, if you want to game while streaming, for example, if you want to do multitask, then AMD is going to be the best for you. Intel is better only for single gaming sessions. If you're only doing gaming and do not have anything open, like Google Chrome, for example, stuff like that. If you only have the game open, then Intel is going to be better. But now the lead is not as big as it once was. Now AMD processors are much faster than they once were. Ryzen was the best thing that AMD made. It was really their best thing they made. The Ryzen actually started in 2017. I should have bought back then a Ryzen 5 1600, which is a 6-core CPU, 6-core 12 threads, I believe. So it's much faster than an Intel i5, especially for editing. But unfortunately, I made that mistake and went with Intel. Oh well. I also went with 8 gigs of DDR4 memory. Now, I'm not really that concerned about the memory. Back then, most people still recommend for you to get 16 gigs of memory if you want to do editing. I don't really see a point for that. I think it's pretty much overrated, 16 gigs. I have been editing photos and videos with 8 gigs and I haven't had that much of a trouble. Sure, sometimes I get some crashes here and there, but that's mostly because I tend to do a lot of video timelines, and that stresses the CPU a lot and the memory, and requires a lot of memory. But if you're only doing like one track at a time, you're not going to really need 16 gigs. Some games now ask for 16 gigs, but most games still use and run fine with just 8 gigs. So I don't think it's really that much of a problem. 8 gigs is more than enough. If I were to upgrade now, I would instead get 32 gigs because that's much more future-proof than 16 gigs. So yeah, and then I also went for the GPU. I went with the Nvdia GeForce GTX 1066 GX. Now back then this GPU was pretty decent. It still is. Of course, there's now better GPUs, of course, mainly from Nvidia, the RTX series cards. But this CPU is still pretty good. It's pretty decent for 1080p. Back then I was never into 4K, and I'm still not into 4K. I still only play in 1080p. Back then this was a pretty good deal. It still is kind of a pretty good deal, but not anymore. It's not as great anymore because now the new RTX cards, like the 1660 for example, is better and is about the same price as this one was at launch day. But yeah, those are pretty much the main specs. So it's a 1066 gigs Nvidia GPU, an Intel Core i5 7600, which is a 4-core 4-thread CPU. Again, not that fast for editing, but it does the job, I guess. And I also have 8 gigs of memory, DDR4, clocked at 2400 megahertz. Now, if you want to go with an AMD CPU or an AMD setup, I would advise you to go with 3000 megahertz or higher clocked memory, because the AMD CPUs go faster with, or should I say, AMD CPUs are optimized better for the higher clock speeds in the memory. So there's that. But overall, this PC, well, it's not really that great. Okay, it's not really that great. I'm not saying it's amazing, but up until this year, it's been serving me pretty good. So if I can still make what I wanted need, I don't see a point in upgrading. But I do want to upgrade, like I said, in 2021, next year. If DDR5 is already available, which I think it will be available at 2021. I think it's already available this year, but it's not available to the consumer yet. I believe it's going to be available to the consumer in 2021. And so as soon as DDR5 gets available for the consumer, I will look to upgrade my PC. Nvidia is also about to release their new RTX 3000 series cards this year. I think they're going to release later this year. Now, the current RTX cards, while they're pretty great for editing, they're not really that much better for gaming. The improvements have not really been that much increased, and this is normal because the shrink size is not really that much smaller. When Nvidia gets to 7nm, that's when the improvements are already going to be present. AMD is already at 7nm, I believe. AMD is pretty good in terms of CPUs, but in GPUs they're still lacking a little bit. They're still lacking behind the AMD, or should I say, behind the Nvidia when it comes to the higher end GPUs. In the mid-range, they're pretty good, their GPUs, but they're very power hungry, unfortunately, and they draw a lot of power. So yeah, but when it comes to the mid-range, 1080p and stuff like that, I think AMD is still a better deal. But when it comes to high-end, Nvidia is still better. Now, I hope the new Nvidia RTX 3000 series cards are much better for the gaming and especially video editing. The RTX, the 2000 series cards are pretty good for editing, but if they can improve the gaming performance, now that will be pretty great. And also the price, because the prices are getting pretty ridiculous right now. So if AMD does not give competition, Nvidia is not going to lower their prices. So I hope AMD also delivers in that front. And when it comes to CPUs, pretty much like I said, AMD is the best right now. AMD is the best company right now when it comes to CPUs. And so if I were doing a PC now, I will definitely go with AMD. AMD also has the Ryzen 7 series, which are not really that much expensive than the Intel i5 series, and they offer so much more bang for the buck. They offer much more cores and threads, and like I said in the beginning, the gaming lead by Intel is shrinking as years progress, and the AMD is really catching up to Intel in gaming department. And when it comes to multi-threaded stuff, of course AMD is going to be better. So yeah, I really hope AMD delivers this year as well. They're going to release later this year the 4000 desktop series CPUs. and then next year they're gonna go actually into a new platform, which is gonna be AM5, I believe. So the CPUs up until this point are gonna be all compatible with the current motherboards, which is AM4. But starting from 2021, they're gonna require a new motherboard. That is also one of the reasons why I want to upgrade my PC, if I do upgrade next year, because then I will have a motherboard set for many years to come, because the support is gonna stop this year for the current motherboards. The next CPUs are gonna require another motherboard. So yeah, also like I said, the memory, I'm gonna probably upgrade to 32 gigs of memory to be more future proof. But like I said, also I now have a new laptop, which is much better than this one for editing, because the processor I got there is a 6-core processor, 6-thread I believe. I'm not really sure now, or maybe it has multi-thread, I'm not really sure now, but it's definitely better than this one. It also has a better GPU as well. So now what I'm gonna start doing is I'm gonna focus more on gaming in this PC, and I can use the other PC I have to edit the videos and put on the rendering, because sometimes the render in this PC can get a little bit rough and it can take a lot of time to render, so this way now I can have one PC rendering the videos, and I can play on the other one. So that's gonna be much better, especially for the future Let's Plays videos. If you want to build a new PC or want to invest in a PC, follow my advice and go with AMD. Do not go with Intel when it comes to CPUs. Now, when it comes to GPUs, Nvidia GPUs tend to get slower with the drivers, while AMD starts slower, but when the drivers start to come out, they tend to get faster than Nvidia. But you also have to ask yourself if you're gonna use like FreeSync, for example, in the monitor. Like my monitor, for example, has FreeSync, and FreeSync only works with AMD. Although it also works apparently with Nvidia, but not all monitors work with Nvidia GPUs when it comes to the FreeSync. But FreeSync monitors as well are much more cheaper than the G-Sync monitors. G-Sync is better, of course, but AMD FreeSync is cheaper, so you have a lot more options with the FreeSync monitors, as well as they're cheaper. So you also have to ask yourself that. But overall, if I were upgrading now, I would go with an AMD CPU and the Nvidia GPU, because Nvidia GPUs tend to be a little bit more stable, I think. So yeah, that was my advice for you if you want to start making a new PC. And so yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to hit the subscribe button if you like my work and want to support me. I will be coming out with more future videos in the channel as well. When Canon announces their Canon EOS R5 and R6 on the July 9th, I will do a follow-up video to that, so be sure on the lookout for that. And I will start coming up with gaming videos still this month in July. I will probably do some, I will probably release actually some layout tests, so you can see how the video will play out and stuff. But I will probably do first one without the layouts, then one with the layouts, because it's gonna be much easier for me to edit this stuff. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Stay on the lookout for future videos as well, and stay safe, peace, and UNHOLY-OMEGA signing out until the next video.